Hi, this is Trevor Conquergood. Welcome to this week's RNK Software Club's video for the week, and the topic for this week are some handy-dandy tools that are found here in your red tool group. They're the optimization tools. You've got a sequence tool, you've got an entry and exit tool, and you've got a color sort tool. And so I guess to get started, what I'll do is just create a basic shape. It could be any shape, but I'm just going to create some artwork of a pentagon, and then select that piece of artwork. Notice in my sequence view that it's artwork. We'll select it and click on Run Stitch. So now it's an embroidery design. It has stitches. And if you watch it stitch out with the slow redraw tool at the top here, you can see that it travels from the top all the way around and finishes again where it started. And of course, you can take control of that. So here in the shape tool, there's a red and green point that represent where it will start and stop sewing. So if you want it to begin sewing on the left and finish sewing on the right, you can take effect. Now, either I right click to effect to cause that to update, or I click apply to cause it to update, or I can click enter on my keyboard. Either way, that kind of updates it. And so if I was to click on the slow redraw now, you would see that it started where I told it to on the left. It goes all the way around the shape, that single ply, and then another half ply to get over to the other side. And so the concept here is there's actually a tool that's called Optimize Entry and Exit. And so if you're going to place more than one of these shapes in succession, so let's click copy. So right now it's kind of perfect because see how it has a dotted line that comes from the end of the first one and it travels to the beginning of the second one. So if I select that second shape and move it, you'll see the dotted line will follow from the end, from where it finished to where the next one begins. And if you're sewing them like along in a row, well, that's perfect because now where it finishes is where it starts, and they can, and you could create an all-over effect. But what if you wanted to put it, for example, like this, and have this one be next, and then make another copy, and then go, and put that one here, like this. And so ultimately, you could make the first one finish here, and the second one start there, and then the second one finish here, and the third one start right there. And this is the concept that you could do all that, but if you select all three of those shapes at the same time, notice that this tool, which was previously dim, just click off, notice dim, select multiple segments, and now you have the option to optimize the entry and exit. And so if I click on that, it learns the best way to sew to connect everything. And so the first hexagon or polygon is got entry wherever we had originally placed it and exit where that is. So if you wanted that to be just a single ply, then I guess you could bring the entry and say, well, why don't you start and stop right there? But in the next one, notice that it starts here but finishes there. So it comes in, goes all the way around the horn, and then that last little bit to connect over to this one. And this one will start right where it's the closest to the previous one and finish wherever it originally was. Again, if you want to kind of make it all a perfect sort of two ply or single ply, then you could move that exit point. But when you're drawing, and so imagine doing something, let's select all these, and maybe you get like a custom shape, and you want to design an area of patterned, stitching with it. And so you make it into a run stitch, and then you make a copy, and you bring that one down, and you kind of like fit it like into the spot like this so that it has a connection. And then you can, let's see, make it nice and close like this. And then copy those two and make another one and, create a whole sort of area building together with your dog bones. And so the kind of cool thing here is once you place them all together, if you want them all to sew connected, you can use optimize entry exit, and the software can figure out how to finish the first dog bone so that it connects to the next dog bone, and that one connects to the next one, and on and on. And so that's a cool tool, optimize entry and exit. Now, another one, let's just kind of clean this up and maybe go back to basic shapes, is the color sort, right? So if you have, for example, 3 triangles, and one of them is in a pink color, and why don't we make them solid, and one of them is in a green color, and one of them is in a blue color, and they're all solid, and then you copy them, well, now you've got repeated colors in your sequence list. Blue, green, pink, blue, green, pink. I mean, these could all be embroidery elements. And so the sewing sequence goes blue, green, pink, blue, green, pink. And this is where the color sort, you could make as many of these as you want to and have a whole kind of candy cane, up top of the sequence. And you can fix it just with one click. And that's this tool here, color sort. When you click on color sort, it'll look through your designs and reduce the colors. Now, I also want to point out, while we talk about color sort, let's just undo this for a minute. Let's just say that this, let me think of where this applies. So it'll move the blue. This blue triangle is after this red triangle. But if in the 3-dimensionally, if we moved this triangle to be on top of this blue triangle here, so let's move it in the sequence to be like the very last thing that sews. I'll just click on the end and then overlap it so that here I've got a triangle that's blue that sews before the pink triangle does, but then I have this one which sews perhaps later on after it. And so notice now, if I do the color sort tool, that it reduced it by 9, and it made sure that the pink came after the blue. Now, if you had a blue triangle that was on top of the pink, so let's undo all the mess again and make it so that this blue triangle actually was sewing now at the very end, and it was on top of a pink. So now we've got layering. Pink is on top of blue, but blue is on top of pink. Now when you use your color sort tool, it can only reduce by 8 color stops, and it understands that it's okay to sew these blue triangles first, and then do the green ones, and then do the pink ones, but then it's going to need to come back to do that last blue one later. In other words, if you've got a snowman that has white fills and then white little, eye shine on top of the black eyes later, it's not going to try and put the white all in one place, and now the white eyes are underneath the black. And so it understands layering when you use your color sort tool. So if you're doing a field of flowers, this can be a great thing because you can duplicate your flowers, decorate your whole area, and then use your color sort tools. So one more one, let's just get clean up again, and that's the optimize sequence. And this one, a little bit trickier to understand, not totally hard, but let's just do a rectangle. Let's do a triangle. And let's do, whoops, wrong tool, an ellipse. So I purposely drew them so that they weren't in a perfect sequence. In other words, this one starts with the rectangle. Let's make them all solid. Then the ellipse, then the triangle. So when you talk about, and let's just make them all embroidery elements. So here you have an embroidery design. It's going to stitch out and fill in your square, then do your triangle, and then do your ellipse. But if you wanted to use, for example, optimize entry exit and get your square to finish here and your circle to start here and your circle to end here, then the sequence is out of order. And so because I did the circle, and then the next closest thing is the triangle, and then the next closest thing is the ellipse, they're not quite in the perfect sequence. And so if I select, if I select all three of those shapes, click and drag to select all three of them, now I have the option to optimize the sequence. And so I'll go ahead and click on it, and it moves the ellipse to be in between the circle and the triangle. And so it basically, when you do this, so let me try and explain how the rationale. So when you use the tool, I hit undo. So now it goes back to the original kind of like rectangle, then triangle, then ellipse. It's basing it on when I select three things, the first one. So in other words, if I put the, let's try and rearrange them and do it again. So if I make the triangle be first and the square be last, or sorry, no, it was better the other way. So I've got the triangle, then the square, but sequence-wise, this is closer. So, but now the triangle is first. And so again, if I select this and I use the sequence tool, it will understand to put the ellipse in between the two. So if I move the square, just to sort of like do it again, move the square over here and then make the square be the sort of the triangle. Oh boy, this is hard to explain, isn't it? So it's going to be based upon whatever comes first. So if I make the ellipse be the first thing and the square be the second thing, so it's going to start from the first one and go through to what's the next closest and the next closest. And so once again, even if I select this again, all three, and I choose the optimize sequence, it'll understand that it needs to move the triangle in between the ellipse and the square. I hope I made it make sense, and I hope you enjoyed learning about some of the cool tools that we have on our toolbox that are for helping you optimize the sequence of your embroidery design. So now that I've optimized their sequence, I could also select all three of them and ask it to optimize their entry and exit points. And that would get the ellipse to finish sewing right here, triangle to start sewing right there, to finish sewing right here, and the square or the rectangle to start sewing as close to that as possible. And so that's how those tools can be used kind of in conjunction to help them kind of make the most sense. And so again, hope you enjoyed this week's video. Until next week, have a great day. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.